The night when Muhammad received the first transmission or wisdom from Allah began, I imagine, like any other night. He went into the cave where he regularly prayed and meditated. Surely he did not expect to receive such profound revelation in the midst of his nightly prayers, yet his life changed that night. So who was this man, Muhammad, whose name is blessed by peoples all over the world? And why him? Why was he chosen to be a messenger of revelation? He was not, I don't imagine, someone who could be easily picked out of a crowd, as this guy is going to become a powerful prophet, one of the most powerful in human history. He was an orphan taken in by his uncle. He was a shepherd and camel driver and manager of caravans. Some people say that he was illiterate, while other scholars say that though he wasn't formally educated, he needed a wide variety of skills and knowledge to safely guide caravans through challenging terrain. And he had to be a person who had the ability to negotiate between different cultural traditions and languages. Through his work, he met people from all over the known world, Jews, Christians, pagans. He married Khadijah, a wealthy widow and merchant with whom he had a long and loving marriage. By age 40, Muhammad felt drawn to periods of meditation in a cave near his home. It was there in the night that he received what he professed to be a visitation by the angel Gabriel. Muhammad reported that while praying in a trance-like state, the angel Gabriel appeared to him and said, "Proclaim." But like Moses, Muhammad was a reluctant prophet. He replied, "I'm not a proclaimer." The angel persisted, and the prophet repeatedly resisted. Finally, it's said that the angel overwhelmed Muhammad and commanded him, "Proclaim in the name of your Lord who created man from a clot of blood. Proclaim, your Lord is the most generous, who teaches by the pen, teaches man what he knew not." Finally, Muhammad submitted to this unexpected call and returned home to share his experience with Khadijah, his wife, who became his first convert. Good, supportive spouse. It's said that after this mystical experience, he told Khadijah that he had either gone absolutely mad or he had become a prophet. Like many who over the millennia have chosen to profess an important message, he struggled with the reality that he had been chosen. With additional angelic visits, Muhammad finally became confident that he had indeed been chosen as a messenger of God. It was then that he began to proclaim and share the teachings that had been transmitted to him. As Muhammad's destiny as the prophet of Allah became a reality, he called for the transformation of belief from pagan polytheism, immorality, and materialism to a faith in which all people, women and men alike, were able to be treated fairly and equally. A faith that called people to repent from evil and, most important, to worship the one true God. In Arabic, Allah. And I want to step aside again to say it's important to A lot of people have an aversion to the word Allah because it's so connected with what's happening politically. But we need to understand that in many Arabic-speaking countries, Christians call God Allah. And in Aramaic, it's Allah. They're all part of the same root word, Hebrew, Elohim. And in Sumerian, the word is Elat, which is the name of the goddess. So it's a masculine-feminine connection in all the religions from that area. So if we sort of take in a deep breath, when we talk a lot about Allah, it comes from our own cultural overlay about what that means. So Muhammad was always careful to clarify his role in God's work. He was only a prophet. He insisted that no images be made of him. That is why the cartoons in Europe that show Muhammad are so profoundly offensive. The focus must always be on Allah, on God, who is beyond any human capacity to picture or to fully understand, which actually sounds rather Unitarian if you think about it. We don't consider whatever is sacred to be formulated by any words, God, sacred unity, goddess, whatever, which sounds very much like what Muhammad was saying. Muhammad said he was not an angel. He didn't know the mind of God. He did not work miracles. He only preached what he was led to preach. He was simply a messenger. That first experience of the sacred, his night of power, took him from anonymity to become one of the most famous humans that's walked the earth. This was not what he planned for his life. I think he was happy being, a caravan merchant. Yet by listening to and responding to the message that was given to him, he found his destiny. And like Jesus, Muhammad could not control in the following centuries the misuse and manipulation of the teachings he received. So what must it have been like to have one's life set apart from how one expected to live? What must have been like to have a vision, a burning coal set alight in one's heart? What must it have been like for a man such as Muhammad to be entrusted with a message that would shape the future of large parts of the world? Over the years, I've been fortunate to know a number of people who have been involved in great causes. Some of them are here, who put their lives and careers on the line. They were humble people who never intended to make that much of a difference in their culture. They just were faithful to what they were called and impelled to do. We don't often reflect on what might be our destiny, or maybe even the destiny for this congregation. Who are we to be called to a great destiny or to have the power to change the world? Sometimes we have trouble finding a clear vision for who we are called to be. We don't have angels descending to give us clear messages. Perhaps it is that we need to stop, to be more intentional about listening to our lives. We have to envision our destiny, claim our power, our voice, and move forward in faith, hope, and confidence, even when we don't clearly know where that future might take us. Of course, life is never simple. Even for chosen prophets, life isn't easy. Did Muhammad get acclaim and recognition? We're looking at who he was from the long view of history. But let's be frank, he wasn't very successful by what we consider standards for success. The early years weren't easy. In the first years of his work and ministry, Muhammad made 40 converts. He wasn't on the Rick Warren or Jerry Falwell track, ready to immediately build a mega mosque. He met resistance. Like people in our day, there's anxiety. There was anxiety about this new prophet who challenged many of the ingrained ideas about societal norms and faith. People wanted to keep their worship and religious practices the way they had always been. Sounds a little bit like Unitarian Universalists hitting the South. Then, as his teachings began to threaten the way of life in Mecca, people felt increasingly anxious about the amount of change that he was calling for. So that's when Muhammad and his followers began to experience a lot of persecution. Initially, it was just mockery, but it soon turned into open violence. Members of the small movement were stoned, covered in dirt as they prayed, refused service by the merchants, beaten with sticks, thrown into prison. Perhaps there were times when he asked God, "Why me?" The reality is that very often it's not easy to hear a message from the depths of our subconscious or the universe or God, and then to act upon what has come to us. Yet in spite of the persecution, Muhammad did not forsake the message that had been entrusted to him. Muhammad was not the first person in history to hear the still small voice that leads people to speak out when change is needed to right a wrong or an injustice. Martin Luther, many years later, said, "Here I stand, I can do no other." The new memorial of Dr. King shows a man standing firm. Many prophets and teachers seem to be much larger than life, certainly much larger than our lives. Perhaps the night of power is remembered by Muslims in part because somewhere in each of us there's the potential for power, a sacred seed that too often remains untapped in the human heart. History is filled with ordinary human beings whose hearts and inner ears were opened. They listened and found their destiny within their hearts and minds. In following that destiny, they found their power. The poem of Jalaluddin Rumi about the night of power that we heard in the welcome compares the value of that one night to living 1,000 months. The imagery reminds listeners that sacred time is different from normal time. When night falls, we enter into another state of knowing and understanding. Through dreaming when we are asleep or lucid dreaming while awake. That same poem has been translated also by Coleman Barks, and I want to read it because his translation is a little more open. And Rumi calls this poem The Vigil. Don't go to sleep one night. What you most want will come to you then. Warmed by a sun inside, you'll see wonders. Tonight, don't put your head down. Be tough, and strength will come. That which adoration adores appears at night. Those asleep may miss it. One night, Moses stayed awake and asked and saw a light in a tree. Then he walked at night for 10 years until he finally saw the whole tree illuminated. Muhammad rode his horse through the night sky. The day is for work, the night for love. Don't let someone bewitch you. Some people sleep at night, but not lovers. They sit in the dark and talk to God, who told David, those who sleep all night, every night, and claim to be connected to us, they lie. Lovers can't sleep when they feel the privacy of the beloved all around them. Someone who's thirsty may sleep for a little while, but he or she will dream of water, a full jar beside a creek, or the spiritual water you get from another person. All night, listen to the conversation. Stay up. This moment is all there is. Death will take it away soon enough. You'll be gone, and this earth will be left without a sweetheart. Nothing but weeds growing inside thorns. I'm through. Read the rest of this poem in the dark tonight. Do I have a head and feet? Shams so loved by Tabrisians, I close my lips. I wait for you to come and open them. The night is full of our dreams and the imaginings of our inner beings. Perhaps it's in the darkness that we can acknowledge our deepest longings. You know, it's really a mystery as to what sparks a person to be a prophet or a poet, an artist or a teacher or a gardener. We don't often talk about our lives or the lives of those we know as having a clear destiny. We just try to live the best lives we can. Of course, there's some people whose greatness shines and others whose destiny is forced upon them. And there are those in the world that the world would not see as having power, but whose actions have profound effects on the lives of others simply by being a caring presence. When I was thinking about this, the person who came to mind was the janitor at my son Jack's high school. He's been nominated year after year as the most important teacher in the school. Such was the quiet influence and care that he offered students. We wouldn't think about someone like him having power. I wonder what makes the difference between a genius, a mystic, a saint, and you or me. Perhaps it's simply an openness to search and to listen, to sit in the stillness, to create a space where wisdom can emerge. Could it be that we fail to hear the messages that whisper to us in dreams, in our imaginations, in our hopes, in our life challenges? Could it be that we hear a transforming message and are afraid to speak? Could it be that we doubt ourselves so much that we give our power away to others? Could we be in our frenzied lives simply ignoring the wisdom within our psyches that longs to be set aflame in our hearts? There are many ways that we might receive wisdom. Sometimes, when we're not fully awake and aware, it seems that our power, our destiny, comes to us in disguises, in varied garments, and we simply don't recognize wisdom in its many forms. Perhaps there are times when, as the saying goes, we entertain angels unaware. So it behooves us to be very intentional about welcoming into our lives every aspect of being, so that by listening and learning, we may discern maybe not angels, but potential guests who might illuminate our true power and destiny. Our inner selves are often the receptacles for many ways of seeing and being in the world. Again, Rumi, the guest house. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat every guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. What has come into our lives to invite us, to push us toward our destiny, a destiny that's waiting for us? What are we afraid to explore because it might call us to a new way of being? It might call us into unfamiliar territory. What new arrivals in our heart are now our guests? Will we have the courage and insight to find a new voice and a new sense of power in our lives? May this be a day when life brings a new opportunity for us to find our voice, to speak the truth that is in our hearts and minds. May this be a day when a renewed vision for this congregation invites us all onto a new path. Today is a new beginning with possibilities that we might not have imagined for ourselves, for our congregation. Let us listen to all the guests who enter our lives, the joys and challenges, the sadness and the delight. And may we take the path of our destiny with intention, with courage, listening always for the whispering of our hearts and spirit. To find our true voice, our true power, we must live and breathe and walk with our connection to sacred unity by whatever name it is called. So may we discern the path we are called on. May this community be for us a place of support where we can hear the stirrings of our souls as we work and play and eat together, as we share our individual hopes and dreams. May our power and destiny become woven into the destiny, the mission, the calling of this fellowship community. Together, may we find the strength to embody the power of love shared with others and the power of service on behalf of others. I invite us to rise in body